Vet is given a jail term by the judge. The camera shows him opening his cell. Joe was serving with the U.S. Army Special Forces in Afghanistan in 2008. As we followed a tiny dirt road next to an embankment, a frightening event occurred. The road broke way, and the massive, heavy vehicle started to slide sideways down towards the chilly water below, with 4 guys inside. He was transported back in time to that same moment. He was startled out of his waking nightmare by a loud knocking at the gate. Joe raised his head to see Judge Lou. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. The armored vehicle that Joe and the other 3 guys were strapped inside back in 2008 had doors so massive that a hydraulic mechanism was required to unlock them. Just as they were approaching a canal on a dirt track, the road abruptly vanished from under them. Everyone was gasping for oxygen as the vehicle toppled over and tumbled down the bank, tumbling into and under the sea. Joe recalls the water starting to rise and reach his head. "I'm having trouble getting my seatbelt off." He was pulled up so he could breathe by his pal jumping back, but now they were stuck. Joe claims that we were battling for these doors when the hydraulic system was knocked out. It is completely dark, making it impossible to see the water rising. You sense the waters rise. The water levels eventually rise to the level of our chins. Then he hears something gurgling. Joe understood in a fog that the truck had broken up the load of gas bottles the automobile was transporting. The pockets of air that were keeping Joe alive were rapidly being filled with gas as it leaked out into the ocean. He drifted in and out of awareness. He had no idea how long he had been imprisoned, but in his few periods of consciousness, he told us what his mind had conjured up amid the ruins. "I'd see these things that weren't there, and I was hallucinating," he claims. "I thought I had died." It seemed like a lifetime before assistance materialized. Joe awoke to the sound of someone tugging at him, attempting to remove him from the debris after his crew had located the truck. Joe, sluggish and confused, labored up the hill, relying heavily on his colleagues. He would never forget what he saw when he turned to face the vehicle. "And I looked to my left, and there are 3 people laying there, gutted," he went on. That night, Joe was the only one who survived. He recalls, "It kind of crushed me." That night, Joe lost more than teammates, and years later, even after he had left the service, he would still experience flashbacks. Any moment now, the night in the truck will come to him. Even seemingly insignificant things, like the smell of petrol or tiny, dark spaces, can cause excruciating anxiety and nightmares. He was never able to bring himself to discuss his team's loss that evening. Joe, like a lot other veterans, had trouble adjusting to life in the real world. No matter how much he explained, no one could ever truly comprehend what he had gone through. Thus, he created a vice that might temporarily relieve the discomfort, if only for a few hours at a time. His troubles at home started when he started drinking beer as a coping mechanism for his post-traumatic stress disorder. "I wouldn't drink because I like the taste of beer," he replies. "It was when I was angry, or if I was hurting." Due to his habit, he was placed on probation after being stopped for driving while inebriated. He would have to appear before the judge several times, proving his sobriety with P-tests each time. However, Joe was unable to part with the bottle, and he staged one of his subsequent exams. 2 weeks after Joe had lied to the judge, he acknowledged that he had fabricated the test. 2 weeks after the incident, Joe apologized to the judge, but that was not going to be sufficient. Joe was promptly sentenced to 1 night in prison because Judge Louis Vera felt that Joe should be held responsible for his conduct. Nobody was aware that Judge Lou had also served in the Army. He was the one who understood Joe's situation, if anyone. And yet here he was, confining Joe to a little cell by himself for the entire night. 12 hours of living out the nightmare in the shadows from a long time ago. However, the judge wasn't an evil person. Imagining that Joe would struggle to cope with loneliness, he devised a drastic scheme. Lou made the decision to meet Joe at the jail on the day he was scheduled to report, primarily as a consolation. When he showed up, I could tell visibly he was under distress, Lou recalls. He was trembling. He was shaky. He was perspiring. And this was before Joe had even gotten into the jail, according to Judge Lou. When the doors shut behind him and he was shut up for the night, what would happen? The walls became nearer until Joe could reach out and touch the walls on either side of him. But he had the impression that the chilly, dark cage was closing in on him. Like the truck's doors had been the night of the collision, this door was also immovable. All of a sudden, he was back in the vehicle with no way out and cold water up to his chin. The air smelled like gas. The memory flashback persisted. He tried to imagine himself anywhere other than here, but it was difficult. So he said, "I put my hands over my head and put my head down." His entire body began to perspire, and his skin crawled. Behind him, the gate swung closed. It simply kept repeating in my thoughts. I was really anxious, Joe admits. He was startled out of his waking nightmare by a rattling at the gate. Joe knew his time was far from over, but he still prayed that by some miracle he could dash out that door. He peered up at the gate. Rather, he noticed Judge Lou. Joe returned the judge's smile with a kind of smile of his own. Judge Lou Oliveira was standing right there, grinning broadly, and because he was carrying a plate of food, I couldn't help but smile too. He enters and takes a seat on the bed. "It's over," Joe recollects him stating. Lou had never spent a night in jail, much less with a prisoner, so this was a totally new experience. But he felt he had to do something after witnessing Joe. "I gave my wife a call," Lou remembers. "Honey, I'm not coming home for dinner." "Well, I'm going to jail," was my response. "Why not?" His wife was undoubtedly astounded as well. Lou's presence affected Joe right away. Joe claims, "It instantly made me feel like a person again. I felt overpowered. I didn't feel alone, and I truly wanted to weep." The judge and the veteran ate meatloaf and mashed potatoes together while seated side by side in the detention cell. They discussed about families, careers, TV shows, and combat. The judge placed his mat on the floor at midnight. "Judge, if you could, please sleep in the bunk." Joe responds, "Let me take the ground." Lou asserted, nevertheless, "I got it." They talked in the shadows. At last, Joe's breathing became labored, his body quieted, and he began to snore. "That's when I felt good," Lou explains, knowing that Joe would be well. Lou took Joe home the next morning and then made his way back to the courthouse. Joe remarks, "It felt like a clean slate when I walked out of the cell. I was conversing with a jailer. Have you ever seen that?" I ask. "No," he said. "Don't let him down," Joe urges. Trusting has always been one of the most difficult aspects of living with PTSD. He had lost faith in humans. Lou made that alteration. My entire perspective changed just by his presence. His entrance kind of knocked down the boundaries and gave me more confidence to trust others. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.